Hi everyone, I'm trying out something different for this round. I'm going to dub over after having already recorded the round without audio, because it seems like in previous matches of drafts I'm just making mistakes that can only be put down to distraction, really. So I'm going to take advice from one of the few reasonably sensible YouTube posters and dub over. I kept a kind of risky hand in this round, but I figured I had a 2 and a 3 drop, and I'm going to draw a forest eventually, but obviously I draw it turn 2, so everything's gravy. My opponent's playing some kind of reasonable cards. I suppose Fume Spit is actually a lot better than I used to think it was, because it just has so many targets in this format. I actually thought about blocking here, because I've got stuff to do for a lot of future turns, and I don't really want the Fume Spitter messing up my combat, but I figured because I have a lot to do, then I'm actually fine to just take damage and keep my Mamba. Like, I don't think it's particularly good or bad to block either way, but I figured having the Mamba is probably worth it in the long run. So yeah, just make my Cyst Bearer, because it's the only real play I have. I don't want to attack into the Blister Grub, because if he blocks, I regen, he kills my Fume Spitter, I lose, he kills it with Fume Spitter. I just lose a turn, so it's not really worth doing it. Something surprised me during his turn. He then killed the Mamba with Fume Spitter pre-combat. Like, there was the Fume Spitter. Sorry, the Mamba wasn't doing anything during his turn, so I can't think of a reason why he'd do that just during his turn. I mean, if he's trying to get a combat trick with it or something, like, he's fine to take an extra 3 off Untamed Might, and then my Mamba dies at the end of turn. Like, I'm really not sure why he did that during his turn. Especially because he can put a counter on Cyst Bearer and then kill it with Heartstoker. But anyway, back to the game. Attacking for 2, make my Contagious Nim and a Life Staff. He doesn't do anything, which means he almost definitely has removal. So I don't want to make the Trigon of Rage straight away. I'd rather just attack, bait out any removal he has, then I can make the... Because I'm guessing he's going to block the Contagious Nim, kill the Cyst Bearer, then I have no creatures. So I'd rather make the Trigon of Infestation post-combat and start reloading with creatures, rather than just straight up bait out, rather than just straight up play into his removal spell. But he doesn't have removal, so rather than doing what I just said, rather than making the Trigon, I can instead make Tumble Magnet, equip Cyst Bearer. This way I can tap down his last blocker and exact lethal him for 6 next turn, because I now know he doesn't have removal. He might have turn to Slag or something, in which case that's pretty bad for me, but even if he does, like, I've still got Trigon of Infestation. I'm only taking 2 a turn, so it's not the end of the world. He makes Cold Oath of Phoenix, which is fairly irrelevant, but I tap it anyway. I can't think of anything, because he's played land, I can't think of anything that's actually going to keep him in the game at this point, aside from, like, a Vectorasp. But if he makes a Vectorasp, I don't really care. So yeah, I'm just going to make Trigon of Rage, tap his guy, and attack him for 6. Like, the only thing I can think of him having here is Tainted Strike, but obviously that does nothing, because you can't fog an infect creature when you're dying to infect. So yeah, I'm just going to attack him for 6, and finish him off. He has nothing. GG. So I got a pretty good draw, and he got a pretty average draw, and I'm not sure why he popped that Fume Spitter when he did, but I don't think it would have made a whole lot of difference in the long run anyway. Sideboarding, I can't remember what I was thinking about, although I did literally just finish playing this game. I finished a round quite quickly, so I thought I'd dub over between rounds. Oh yeah, I was thinking about taking out the Trigon, because it seemed like his deck, if he's going to beat me, he's going to beat me with a Fast Clock, like creature removal, Cold Oath of Phoenix. So I thought about bringing out the Trigon of Infestation, because I have a lot of 4-drops and it's one of the slower ones. And I thought about bringing in Flesh Allergy to replace it, because I saw Phoenix, which is obviously something that's going to kill me. But I then thought that he gets back Phoenix anyway, assuming he's got Metalcraft. I didn't actually see any artifacts, so he might have just had a bad draw. And I don't like the idea of 2-for-1-ing when the damage isn't a bonus anyway. So I just kept my deck as it was, because it felt my deck was a lot better than his anyways, and didn't really need to change much. He chose to play Mulligan to 6, and I kept a slowish but decent hand. Like, I've got 2-drop, 4-drop, and a lot of late game. So play my 2-drop one of the better ones. It makes it quite awkward for him, especially because he played a Leadenmere, so he can't really block this without stunting his mana development, especially now. He really can't block it because I'll just straight 2-for-1 him. So yeah, my first 2 draws are decent as well. Another couple of cheap spells, so yeah, just get in for my 1 and make a follow-up Mamba. Then next turn I can make my 4th land, make Trigon, and attack with both guys, because then either he blocks my stuff 2-for-1s himself, loses all his guys and I regen Mamba, or he takes one of the creatures and takes 4 poison, which is obviously quite a significant hit. And even better for me, he doesn't even have a 4th land or a follow-up, so yeah. I also drew a Contagion Engine, so this game is just looking really good for me at this point in time. I attack with both, like I said, and I'm assuming he's gonna block Necropede with Leadenmere and let through the Mamba, because that way he can duplicate his Propagator and kind of keep that chain going. But he obviously wants the mana, which I should have realised at the time. It makes it obvious when he blocks a Propagator, so he really wants the mana and can't really afford to block the Leadenmere, which means that with Necropede I'm going to kill the Leadenmere rather than the Propagator. I mean, it doesn't stop the chain, but I have a Mamba that's kind of basically holding off Propagator by itself, because I'm paying 2 and he's paying 3 every turn. So yeah, you can see here I'm kind of thinking about the Propagator and discussing why I'm not going to target that. It's much better to target the Leadenmere, because he's missed land drops and he hasn't made any plays, so he obviously needs 2 more lands before he does anything relevant, and my Mamba is kind of keeping off the Propagator anyway. They're just trading 2 for 3 mana, and I've got mana and he doesn't, so it's much better that way. And yeah, I'm just gonna do that basically. Trade 2 mana for 3 mana and pass. I don't have a follow-up, but that's absolutely fine, because I will next turn. And I'll also have a guaranteed land drop, and he doesn't necessarily. So I'm fine to play this game for a couple of turns, especially because I have Contagion Engine, so I'm not too bothered about the Propagators getting out of check. I think that was another reason I mentioned not killing the Propagator, because no matter how many times he propagates, I'm still going to have this Contagion Engine to just finish off his team. He still doesn't have the 4th land. Like, he's got a pretty bad draw this game. It's kind of unfair, considering, like, I mean, my draw was decent, but if he'd had a good draw, then I would have been in a lot more trouble. So it's a shame that he happened to get a really bad draw this game, especially as I'm doing the video, so there isn't a whole lot to talk about in depth, but obviously I'm not going to complain. I think, from what I saw in the first game, his deck wasn't that good anyway. I mean, I think if you just put the 2 decks out on a sheet of paper and said which was better, I think mine would probably win, but obviously that's hard to say, as I've only seen about 6 or 7 cards from his deck. But stuff like main deck Blister Grub is usually a sign that your deck's not the strongest, and Heartstoker as well. If you don't have Bloodshot Trainees, I don't really like Heartstoker. He's drawn here and obviously not drawn anything good, not even a land, not a creature, so he's still on the block and propagate plan, which at this point, because I have the Trigon and the Corpse Care now, it's not really a plan anymore. Like, it's fine as long as I'm not playing spells and as long as he's drawing lands, and neither of those happened because I am playing spells and he's not drawing lands. So yeah, there's not much more in this game. I literally just make some infect guys and he's not going to hold off for very long, especially because I have such late game power in my hand. I have Genesis Wave and Contagion Engine, so he draws, doesn't get land, and just scoops, and see you for round 2.